Holdenville, Oklahoma. A summary of pictures and videos from the 50-year reunion of the 1965 Holdenville Wolverines baseball team. The reunion and celebration was organized and funded by the Holdenville High School in 2015 to commemorate the baseball team that won the Oklahoma High School State Championship in 1965, the same year the Wolverines football team won the Oklahoma State Championship. Hello, I'm Jim Kane, and I was a member of the '65 Wolverine baseball team as a senior at Holdenville High School. Now I'm a senior citizen, I'm retired, and I'm living in the Mid-Atlantic area of Washington, D.C., Maryland, and West Virginia, and it was exciting to get an invitation to this 50-year reunion event in Holdenville. It was fun to see old friends in Oklahoma, and it was an adventure of sorts to make the 1,400-mile drive across Maryland, Virginia, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. I left our retirement home in Jefferson County, West Virginia in the springtime with my wife Karen's garden in full bloom. And I made stops in Tennessee and at Nashville, which is George Jones territory. I stopped at Hurricane Mills, which is Loretta Lynn territory, and had some wonderful catfish and hush puppies at the local restaurant there in Hurricane Mills. I stopped in Centerville, which is the home of Minnie Pearl, and also is my granddad Cotton's birthplace, Centerville, Tennessee. I made a stop in Memphis to check out the Mississippi River, and from there I drove on through Arkansas, crossing into Oklahoma on Interstate 40 and turning south on Highway 48, very familiar territory there, to the fine town of Holdenville. 1,251 miles, 1,251 miles on my RAV4 odometer for a stay at the Country Club Motel. There's not a lot of lodging choices in Holdenville these days. And soon after I checked into the motel, I was watching out the front window and I noticed a drug deal go down in the motel parking lot, just a couple of doors down from my side of the on my side of the motel. So times have sure changed.
Okay, this is a video. This is the room here in Holdenville at the Country Club Motel in Holdenville. So this is kind of the way the room looks from a side view on my belt camera. That's me on the belt camera. This is the table now. This is pretty cool. This is a pretty rickety old table here. Look at this thing. It's hard to believe. But that's the way it is in Holdenville, Oklahoma.
While I was in Holdenville, I stopped by the cemetery to pay respects to my own family members who are laid to peaceful rest there at the Holdenville Cemetery. And I also visited with longtime friend Bill Robinson at his newspaper publishing operation on North Broadway in Holdenville. Later I drove on out to the home of my old baseball teammate Rick McCoyne off of North Hinckley Boulevard, and found him filling his bird feeders in his backyard. Had a nice visit with Rick. Later still, I would get the benefit of short visits with my old friends Kenneth Kahn, Chub Moeller. Jim Moeller was his name, but his nickname was Chub Moeller. Ronald Pittman, that was Horace, and Donald Pittman, that was Bud. And these were the Pittman twins, and they were my ace buddies in Holdenville growing up. And I also visited with Ray Hulsey and visited with Gene Hadley and with Richard Nolan, who I also played ball with at Eastern Oklahoma State College. And I visited with Ronnie Lee, and visited with Lyndall Ellis, one of our ace pitchers, and also my neighbor out there on Broadway and Oak Street on the south side of Holdenville. Visited with Johnny Fuller and with Granville Turner and many others. There's a lot of people that I can't name here, but it was good to see them all. My only regret was that there was just not enough time to visit with all of these important people in my life growing up in Holdenville. It was over with far too quickly.
I read something. I think it was in the little Holdenville house not long ago that all the problems they had. You would think. And the government, the local government take care of it. The federal government would help instead of skinning it.
Last time I was there was 69.
Hey Johnny, gotta get your mug here. That's video. It's not a flash picture.
Still working?
Oh yeah, still working. Didn't break a thing. That's pretty cool. Yeah, this is Chub Muller coming right here.
They'd have to throw the ball right here too, you know.
Ray Hulsey.
Yeah.
Jim Kane.
Everybody, put your glasses on, Ray. You wouldn't have such hard time. Well, I don't need them unless I'm reading.
I just drove by your house down there on Broadway a while ago.
I did too. That's why it took me so long to get up here.
Yeah.
Don Markle asked me if I knew where you was at, and I said, man, I hadn't seen him since high school.
I headed south as soon as I got out of here. I lived in Dallas for a while, then Houston, and I wound up with my career up in Maryland, Washington, D.C. That's where I was at.
Well, let's see.
I got way off compass, man.
After I got out of the service, I went down Sonic Drive in down in Leesville, Louisiana. I lived down by Houston.
Okay.
For a little while.
All right. Houston, Texas. Yeah. That's good territory down there.
I was down there one year and they canceled school.
Right.
Because it had a snow down there.
Uh-oh.
It wasn't even enough to cover the grass.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual to have a snow in Houston, that's for sure.
Man, they was canceling school.
Holdenville High School staff did a first-rate job putting this reunion event together and getting all of these old teammates back to Holdenville from all over the map. Some still live in Holdenville or Hughes County. Some could not make the trip at all, but it was great to see these old geezers back together again in Holdenville. We had a pretty good pack of athletes at Holdenville High School with state championship trophies in the trophy case there in the high school from baseball and football in the trophy case. Many of these guys you see in the pictures played both sports, football and baseball, and some went on to play college ball at Eastern Oklahoma State in Wilburton, Oklahoma State in Stillwater, and Tulsa University in Tulsa. Holdenville High School planned for the 65 team to participate in a spring game ceremony with the 2015 HHS Baseball team at their new baseball field or new baseball stadium out west of town near the Holdenville Airport. Bad weather changed all of that, and all activities and ceremonies were held in the HHS gymnasium, a spot very familiar to all of us Wolverines. Many pep rallies, a lot of basketball games, PE classes, dodgeball games, and a lot of ceremonies involving the entire student body were held there for generations, really. The Harlem Globetrotters played there, and Major League Baseball Hall of Famers participated in baseball clinics in that gymnasium also. Some of these Holdenville High School teammates played college baseball too. Some were teammates at Eastern Oklahoma State and Wilburton, Oklahoma, and many of us also played fast pitch softball after college ball days ended. Our fast pitch softball team played many tournaments all over Hughes County, Seminole County, Pontotoc County, and Oklahoma City areas. And our sponsor in Holdenville covered all of our expenses and provided transportation for us to get to the tournaments and to the games. In exchange, we lined the sponsor's storefront windows on Main Street in Holdenville with dozens of softball tournament trophies. Great memories playing ball with all of these guys I grew up with in Holdenville, Oklahoma. At Oklahoma State University in Stillwater, 2 of my HHS Wolverine teammates were on the Cowboys football team. Rick McCoyne was an outfielder on the state champion baseball team for Holdenville, and he was an all-state fullback on the Holdenville Wolverine football team, state champion football team, by the way. At Oklahoma State, he was a Big 8 defensive player for 4 years at linebacker for Oklahoma State. Chub Moeller was an outfielder on the high school state champion baseball team in 1965, a big, solid offensive lineman on the state champion football team, and as an OSU Cowboy in Stillwater, Chubb was a Big 8 offensive lineman. I was on the OSU baseball, Oklahoma State University Cowboy baseball team for 1 season as a transfer scholarship outfielder from Eastern Oklahoma State. My college baseball career ended with back problems my junior year at Oklahoma State, and Coach Chet Bryan met me one afternoon after practice over by the third base dugout and gave me the bad news. Basically, he gave me my cut due to injury ticket to the sidelines. So that changed my life dramatically in college, and that injury was later diagnosed by my orthopedic surgeon as a ruptured disc in my lower back. Heading back to Holdenville the next day, I stopped by for a visit with my very best friend from college days, Larry D. Morrison was his name. My very good friend in Haleyville, Oklahoma, which is near McAllister, and is also near our first college experience, where Larry and I went to college at Eastern Oklahoma State College in Wilburton, Oklahoma. And Larry and I were also, we became good friends at Eastern, and we were off-campus roommates at Oklahoma State University in Stillwater. We were living off campus right across the street from the basketball arena and right across the street from the baseball stadium, and also right across the street from the football stadium, living in a small cottage, rental cottage on West Scott Street in Stillwater. Larry was a baseball guy too, and we often tossed the old horsehide around on the vacant lot next door to our cottage there between classes. It was great fun. We keep in touch with weekly scheduled contacts in Morse code on our ham radio stations, Larry in Haleyville, Oklahoma, and me in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. More great fun that I share with my good friend Larry Morrison.